Crossed by Garth Ennis is a shock horror graphic novel series that presents a brutal apocalyptic world in which a mysterious infection spreads rapidly across the globe, causing those infected, known as the Crossed, to lose all moral restraint and act on their most violent and sadistic impulses. The term crossed derives from the victim's physical appearance moments after they've been infected with the virus, in which a rash in the shape of a cross appears on their face. Unlike traditional zombies, the Crossed retain intelligence, memory, and the ability to communicate, making them far more dangerous and unpredictable. Society collapses almost immediately, with governments, infrastructure, and social order disintegrating under the speed and severity of the outbreak. The Crossed franchise functions as an anthology series, meaning that different writers contribute their own stories within the same apocalyptic universe rather than following a single continuous narrative. While the original concept was created by Garth Ennis, later installments explore the setting from a variety of perspectives and storytelling styles. One of the most notable of these is Crossed, Wish You Were Here, written by Simon Spurrier, which shifts the focus away from pure shock horror and toward character development and psychological survival. In Crossed, Wish You Were Here, a group of survivors have taken refuge on a tiny Scottish island called Cava after the outbreak of the Crossed infection destroyed civilization. The story is primarily told through the diary writings of Shaky, an insecure but observant survivor who documents life within the isolated community. His nickname Shaky is short for Shakespeare and was given to him by fellow survivors as a sarcastic remark after hearing that he used to be a comic book writer before the Crossed roamed Earth. On Cava, as the group struggles to maintain order, relationships, and routines, they attempt to rebuild a small, functioning society while facing internal conflicts, limited resources, and the constant threat of the Crossed reaching the island. The tone of the series is bleak and nihilistic as the community deals with boredom, paranoia, and the slow deterioration of morality. Shaky's narrative emphasizes the long stretches of monotony that follow the collapse of society. Life on Cava Island is defined by repetitive routines, limited stimulation, and the psychological strain of waiting rather than fighting. The group's routine is only occasionally disrupted by sudden encounters with the Crossed, moments of extreme danger that briefly shatter the dull rhythm of survival. For Shaky, these encounters almost function like an adrenaline rush, temporarily replacing the numbness of boredom with a sense of intensity and purpose. This boredom becomes so intense that it influences Shaky to manipulate the community leaders into drawing his name for a dangerous supply run off the island. Although these missions involve significant risk from the Crossed, Shaky is motivated in part by the desire to escape the suffocating monotony of living on the island. By highlighting this dynamic, the story challenges the romanticized image of the apocalypse often found in popular media, showing that survival is not only defined by danger but also by the long, empty stretches between it. It's this crushing boredom that ultimately influences Shaky to start writing a diary, even knowing that no one may ever read it. Shaky's diary entries serve not only as a storytelling device but also as a thematic exploration of memory, history, and humanity's deep desire to record its own existence. Within the violent and uncertain world of the Crossed, Shaky's act of writing becomes an attempt to preserve meaning in a world where civilization may no longer survive. His diary functions simultaneously as a historical record, a personal confession, and a message intended for a potential future reader. Through this device, the story raises a profound question. If humanity disappears, does its story still matter? Why does the main character Shaky care so much about writing this diary? Why does he feel the need to record his experiences even when the future of humanity is uncertain? Shaky's writing reflects a fundamental human instinct, the need to document experiences so they can be remembered. In the context of the apocalypse depicted in Crossed, Wish You Were Here, this instinct takes on heightened significance. The collapse of global civilization means that traditional institutions responsible for preserving history, libraries, archives, governments, and schools, have likely vanished. In their absence, the responsibility of documentation falls to individuals. By recording daily life, relationships, struggles, and tragedies, Shaky attempts to ensure that the experiences of the survivors on Kava Island are not erased by time or violence. His diary entries represent a belief that even if the future is uncertain, the act of recording events gives those experiences lasting significance. In these panels from Crossed Wish You Were Here, Shaky's reflections directly illustrate how diary-keeping functions as both a psychological defense and a method of preserving knowledge in a collapsing world. As he sits by the water, deliberately focusing on small, verifiable facts, such as identifying the sounds of seals or recalling historical details about sunken warships, he consciously avoids confronting the overwhelming terror of the Crossed. His writing becomes a way of organizing reality into something understandable, replacing fear with information and structure. However, the panels also emphasize the loss embedded in this process. He acknowledges that in the past he could have easily Googled answers, whereas now knowledge must be preserved internally or imagined through narrative. When he visualizes the ship sinking during the Scapa Flow scuttling, he is not just recalling history but actively reconstructing it through storytelling, mirroring the way his diary reconstructs the present. This moment reinforces the idea that documentation is not only about recording facts, but about creating meaning where certainty no longer exists. In the absence of external systems of knowledge, Shaky's writing becomes both archive and imagination, preserving fragments of human understanding while simultaneously shaping them into a narrative that can be emotionally processed. In these panels, Shaky's conversations with Tabitha fundamentally reshape his understanding of why people create art and, by extension, why he keeps his diary. At first, Shaky assumes that creative work, whether drawing, writing, or storytelling, only has value if it is seen, read, or validated by others. However, Tabitha challenges this belief by insisting that beauty's just beauty and that art doesn't need to be seen in order to matter, emphasizing that creation itself is meaningful, not the attention it receives. She rejects the idea that art is about recognition, calling that impulse narcissism, and instead frames creativity as an expression of sincerity, self-awareness, and inner truth. This perspective directly influences Shaky's reflections in his diary, where he questions whether he is writing for genuine expression or in the hope that someone might one day read his words and make him matter. Through Tabitha, he learns that documentation does not need an audience to have value. The act of recording experience is inherently significant. This realization deepens the story's central theme by showing that humanity's desire to create is not solely driven by legacy or recognition, but also by an intrinsic need to create meaning, even in a world where there may be no one left to receive it. This theme becomes especially powerful because of the extreme circumstances in which it appears. Surrounded by violence and uncertainty, Shaky's writing may seem insignificant compared to the immediate struggle for survival. Yet the story suggests that documentation itself is a form of resistance against oblivion. While the Crossed represent a world driven by impulse and destruction, Shaky's diary embodies reflection, memory, and meaning. A particularly revealing moment in the story occurs during the final interaction between Shaky and Teresa, who is currently infected with the Crossed virus, yet mysteriously shows mercy and real human emotion towards Shaky. Shaky invites Teresa to read his journal and continues writing the final words as she slowly reads the pages, tearing each one out and letting it drift away in the wind. Despite the violence surrounding them, this moment is strangely calm and reflective. When Shaky asks Teresa whether his written account is a good story, rather than engaging with the narrative itself, Teresa casually responds that she did not read it and instead just counted the words. This interaction highlights the fundamental contrast between the infected and the remaining survivors. For Shaky, the act of writing carries emotional and historical significance. It represents an attempt to preserve memory and meaning in a collapsing world. The Crossed, however, are incapable of engaging with narrative or reflection. Their inability or unwillingness to read the story demonstrates how the infection strips away the human capacity to interpret experiences and assign them meaning. By writing about the survivors, their relationships, and their attempts to rebuild a sense of community, Shaky ensures that their lives are not reduced to anonymous victims of catastrophe. In a later panel at the very end of the story, When Rab and the children of the group are observing Shaky's interaction with Teresa from afar, one of the children asks, "What does it all mean?" Rab tells the child that sometimes the story itself is enough, reinforcing the idea that the value of documentation lies not necessarily in the lessons it teaches, but in the simple fact that it exists. This entire scene interestingly breaks the fourth wall, acknowledging that the reader probably just asked themselves the same exact question. These panels emphasize that storytelling and record-keeping are uniquely human responses to uncertainty and loss. Even if the story is never fully understood or appreciated, the act of writing it ensures that the experiences of the survivors are preserved. This impulse to document life is not unique to Shaky or to fictional apocalyptic worlds. In ordinary life, people engage in similar practices that reflect the same desire to preserve moments and memories. Families, for example, frequently take photographs and home videos of their children as they grow. These recordings capture birthdays, first steps, school events, and countless everyday moments. Much like Shaky's diary, these recordings transform fleeting experiences into lasting records. Modern social media platforms have amplified this instinct dramatically. Today, many people feel compelled to document even the most ordinary aspects of their lives, from vacations and celebrations to daily meals. The common practice of photographing food before eating it, for instance, reflects the desire to capture and share a moment before it disappears. Although such actions are often treated humorously or criticized as superficial, they reveal an important psychological motivation. By photographing and sharing experiences online, individuals transform temporary events into permanent digital records. Social media posts become a form of personal storytelling, allowing individuals to curate a narrative of their lives that can be viewed by others in the present and potentially far into the future. This human desire to document existence extends even beyond Earth itself. In 1977, Voyager 1 was launched carrying the Voyager Golden Record, an artifact designed by NASA. The record contains images, sounds, music, and spoken greetings from Earth, all intended to represent the diversity and achievements of human civilization. The purpose of this project was not to communicate with a specific recipient, but to preserve a record of humanity in case the spacecraft is ever discovered by another intelligent species in the distant future. The Golden Record serves as a message across space and time, declaring that human beings once existed, lived, and created culture. In this sense, it represents the same impulse that motivates Shaky's writing, the hope that someone somewhere might eventually witness the story of humanity. The connection between Shaky's diary and these real-world practices highlights a universal human concern with memory and legacy. Humans are uniquely aware of the passage of time and the inevitability of loss. Experiences fade, people die, and civilizations can collapse. In response to this reality, people develop systems for recording and preserving their lives. Whether through personal journals, family photo albums, social media posts, or interstellar artifacts like the Voyager Golden Record, these efforts all serve the same purpose. They attempt to transform fragile human experiences into enduring records that can survive beyond the moment in which they occurred. Ultimately, the narrative device of Shaky's diary emphasizes that storytelling and documentation are essential aspects of human identity. From family photographs to social media posts and interstellar messages like the Voyager Golden Record, people continually seek ways to preserve their presence in the universe. These actions reveal a shared belief that experiences matter not only in the moment, but also in how they are remembered. In this sense, Shaky's writing reflects a broader truth about humanity. Even in the face of extinction, people feel compelled to leave behind evidence that they lived, loved, struggled, and tried to understand the world around them. Through the act of recording events, human beings assert that their stories deserve to be remembered, and even though we won't be here forever, we once existed. I hope you enjoyed this analysis video. Leave a like and subscribe for more content like this. If you would like to see more analysis videos of different story arcs within the Crossed universe, please leave a comment below. Thank you for watching.